Hey, I'm Yoad. Welcome to my studio. Today, we're going to talk about my vocal chain. This is my vocal chain for this specific song. Every song is different. This is a song we did yesterday. We had a session here, just one session, and this is what came out. This was all the production from scratch, all the backing vocals, all the harmonies, all the arrangement. We all did it in a few hours. It's not finished, but I thought I would share it with you as it's fresh, and we can walk through the process of how I treat vocals for this type of song.
You try to silence what I say, but you can't erase truth. I could have told you before you were gone that what you did was wrong, so wrong. And I told you to stop, but you carried on. You should know that I'm not just a girl, I'm the brightest light in.
You can see that this is mostly one take. There's 2 or 3 places where we used another take. This is the 3rd take.
Look at me and see what I've become.
As you can see, there are many plugins on the vocals. My vocal chain doesn't always look that busy, but it just suits the song because it has to be quite processed and tight. And there are some utility plugins like Deep Breath, De-essers, and the rest is sonic treatment. Now you can ignore those last 2 plugins because I have them on all the tracks in this song. This is my kind of analog vibe treatment for mixing in the box, and you can see a whole video about that topic here. So we have like a channel emulation plugin and then a tape plugin, and this goes across all the channels. So we can ignore these 2 plugins. The first plugin I have here controls the harshness of a vocal track in a dynamic way. So here I'm dialing in the sensitivity. So this is the range where this plugin is going to be more effective and to basically reduce the gain around this frequency range in a dynamic way. So it's not going to be very effective in the verses. The pink lines is the gain reduction. But when we go to the chorus, we can see that it's working a little bit. So around 6 dB at most, but there's gain compensation. So the level is matched. I use it with very fast attack and release. So if I set this to longer time constant,
you should know that I'm not just a girl, I'm the brightest light in this world.
It's more smooth, but I kind of like it to really hold on and grab the vocals and make them really tight. Let's listen to the chorus without it.
You should know that I'm not just a girl.
So together with a double track, there's a lot of information in this range. The IDX helps in controlling the congestion in those frequencies. Usually between 2K and 4K, that's where we hear the unpleasant harshness in vocals. It could be electric guitars as well, sometimes synths and stuff. So we want to make sure that this range is open. The next plugin I have here is a de-esser. It's really important. I have a whole video about this topic, which you can watch here. So that's usually one of the first plugins I have in the chain. So this first plugin doesn't do very much because I'm not compressed and EQ'd this channel yet. I have another one further down the chain, which will do more. The next plugin I have in the chain is a vintage style compressor. This is based on the LA2A, which is a valve compressor with very smooth time constant. So it's not going to do anything drastic to the sound, but the way it kind of rides the gain reduction is very pleasant. So I'm not using it to compress much, but just going through it, and the harmonic distortion and all the stuff that we modeled when we made this plugin really contributes to the sound. The plugin after that is what gives the compression and the kind of modern approach to the vocal track. I use this channel on every vocal that I mix. It's very versatile. I was a member of the team. We developed this plugin. It took us a very long time and we really got it to how we wanted it to sound. The EQ is very similar to the Renaissance EQ. And with the compressor, we have the R compressor here, as it is on the standalone plugin, but we have another mode, which is the RVox, which means it has a very soft knee. And here I give a lot of compression to the vocal. So this is like 8-10 dB, no problem. This really holds the vocal together and tightens it and gives it that sort of modern sound. In the choruses it will even go more. Makes the vocal really steady. It's not going anywhere. And if I need to compensate for the level, I do it with track automation.
And I told you to stop, but you carried on.
So it makes the vocal really, really steady, not going anywhere. And because it's soft knee, it kind of rides the vocal and you don't hear when the compression kicks into action kind of in a sudden way. It's very smooth. But it's working on every bit of the vocal. If you like my videos, please subscribe to this channel because it encourages me to make more videos like that. Please also let me know what topics you would like to see on future videos. And then we have the Renaissance EQ. In this case, I'm adding some low mid. Just to give it some body and warmth.
I'll say I'll leave, but then I'll stay. I'm stuck.
And I always look for a certain mid-range to boost, even if it may sound sometimes unpleasant, but it helps in making the vocal cut through. In this case, it's quite low. It's around 800. Sometimes it would be 1.5K, even 2K, depending whether it's a male or female singer, the kind of timbre of their voice. But I always look for that specific mid-range to boost. And I'm not afraid of it being audible because this is the effective range of the vocal. It's about an octave above the fundamental.
I could have told you before you were gone.
And I find it very effective.
I could have told you before you were gone. That what
Just attitude.
was wrong, so wrong. And I told you to stop.
Now here I can also use the expander. And the way I use it, I'm not trying to get rid of the breaths. We will get to that later. But I want to silence the places where she's not singing. So I can use the expander to help me get rid of the room tone, room noise when she's not singing. I'm not trying to catch the breaths and to mute them. After that plugin, we have another de-esser. Now this is going to be much more effective because we've already compressed the sound quite a bit and we brightened it as well.
You tried to silence what I say.
And you can see the cutoff point is a bit higher, around 4K.
I'll say I'll leave, but then I'll stay.
And it's quite effective in catching those S's, T's.
You think my tears mean I am.
Now, because we have a lot of compression happening before the plugin, the vocal is not looking anymore like it does on the waveform. It's much more compressed. So that means that when she sings hard, it will not necessarily work harder here, but it has a better chance of just catching those sibilant letters.
But you carried on. You should know that I'm not just a girl. I'm the brightest light in.
And it does a really good job at that. This is crucial. Without it, I can even have more de-essing maybe, but without it, the S's and T's and sh are going to be very loud.
Just a girl. I'm the brightest light in this world.
So I want them very controlled. This is part of that kind of FM radio sound that really contributes to a professional mix. We have a tiny bit of pitch correction. I didn't think it was needed, but May thought it may help. I mean, there's something about the sound that it gives. So it's not only the pitch correction, immediately it makes the vocal sounding more processed and more
you tried to silence what I said.
Kind of, it fits better with this style of music, even if it's not doing that much. The corrections are really fast. I don't know if there's much difference. It sounds more natural like that, but for this type of song, sonically, it does something that fits. The next plugin we have in the chain is a deep breath, which takes care of the breaths in a very effective way. The thing with this plugin and also with the Waves deep breath is that they have to introduce a lot of latency because they need a huge look ahead. It needs to know when the next breath is coming, so it can fade the signal before the breath, so the breath will not be kind of cut in the middle. So it has to have a huge look ahead, and what that means is the metering, at least in Logic, is kind of all over the place, which I find confusing. So for the moment, we'll lose that one. There's something about the breaths which is kind of good because it's a live performance and you can see it. But again, this is very much genre dependent. In this style of music, we want the vocals to sound very, very processed. I kind of like the breaths. Let's leave it out for now. The next plugin I have in this chain is a transient processor. But this works only on the high frequencies. So this will catch some of the kind of mouth clicks and maybe sharp T's that are too quick for the de-esser to handle.
You try to silence what I say.
So it's very, very quick.
You can't erase truth. I stay through every sleepless night.
And I find it helps smoothing the vocal.
But now I'm choosing me this time. The door is closing.
Sometimes I use a wideband transient processor, but in this case I just wanted to control the high frequency, so anything above 4K, anything below 4K will not be touched at all. And then, like I said, the next two plugins are the channel emulator and the tape emulator. We can now engage them and engage the deep breath plugin, and let's listen to the whole thing.
You try to silence what I say, but you can't erase truth.
probably go and edit these vocals to get rid of the silence. I can boost the waveform. I would probably do something like that. You can watch all these processes in my mix walkthrough, especially the chapter about mix prep. So I would go and do something like that, keeping the breaths but fading them in. Now, once I've done that, I really don't need the deep breath. This is just kind of a placeholder until I do that. And then everything sounds much more natural. And then I would probably go over the individual breaths and gain them down, something like that.
It's been a while, but I can't forget.
And then I can control which ones I want in as a sort of expressive element. I quite like this. You should keep your own. The next thing is some effects. I use very little. Again, you can watch my vocal delay treatment video here. I have a very simple slap delay,
You try to silence what
which goes into a spreader,
but you can't
which makes it stereo. And I have just a tiny bit of reverb. It's quite long, maybe I can shorten it actually.
You think my
And then I have a doubler. This represents the AMS DMX delay, which I used to use in its hardware form. So I try to emulate the settings I used to have on the AMS.
You try to silence what I say.
This is what I call earrings because it sounds like two very tiny doubles. And the reason they're so thin is because they go through the AVox oil exciter, which makes everything bright. Let's hear it without it. And I have all the backing vocals and harmonies and ad-libs, everything is going through this doubler. It just adds a little bit of stereo-ness and niceness to the thing.
You should know that I'm not just a girl. I'm the brightest light in this wide world. You should keep your own hands to yourself.
So that's my lead vocal treatment for this specific track. I will make another video about the double tracks, the harmonies, the ad-libs. For every mix, I use slightly different vocal chain, whatever suits the track really, but the things I really use each and every time are de-essers, not necessarily this one. Renaissance channel I always use. I just find it so versatile. I love the REQ, I love the RVox compressor. The expander is, you know, it just works. Sometimes I use the transient processor. I always use a sort of vintage analog compressor, preferably valve thing that kind of rides the level in a very nice way. The original LA2A was called a leveler. It wasn't even called a compressor. Time constant is very, very long, very smooth. So this is my vocal chain. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do, and I will see you on the next one.